You're on mute. You're on mute.
A very good afternoon to all our participants of this webinar, which is conducted by the Institute of Social Auditors of India. We have today we are blessed and very grateful to Madam Marie Bano Rodrigues to having given us this her time and her effort. She will be taking us through this webinar, which is on a very important topic on indicators for social impact assessment. And before we start with this webinar, I would like to introduce Madam Marie Bano Rodrigues hold significant leadership roles in social sector. She is a director of Social Audit Network UK and a social auditor. She has authored a guide on social impact assessment, which has been published by the Social Audit Network UK. Throughout her career, Ma'am has worked with renowned organizations such as DANIDA, which is Danish International Development Agency, Oxfam International, Oxfam India, ActionAid India, among others. Her outstanding contribution to society have earned her prestigious recognition, including the Rex Karmveer Global Fellowship 2014-15 and Karmveer Chakra Award. The latter is a global civilian honor presented by the International Confederation of NGOs in partnership with the United Nations. We are thankful, ma'am, you have agreed to take this webinar for us. Over to you, ma'am.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. Very good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to know that ISI is keen to empower our participants on social impact assessment, and thank you for this opportunity. So saying that, I've worked on a simple presentation, but I have got more practical exercises that I need to discuss with you all today. So when we look at social impact assessment, what are we looking at? Yeah, most of us might be from the financial background, like chartered accountants or cost accountants. But when we look at the social impact, we're looking at how this money which has been invested for community benefit has really empowered them. So that we have to have such indicators to measure it. Yeah, as much as we see that the infrastructure, for example, the amount spent for infrastructure, what is the outcome we see where the building is done, whether it's of good quality. Yeah, whether it is last for 40 years plus. Likewise, any investment done for a social welfare program, we have to look at the impact for how long it's going to sustain. So to look at that, we need to have certain indicators, and with that, we have to measure the impact of the work done by the organization. As we all know, a CSR or any social enterprise or non-for-profit works towards empowering communities, individuals, whichever beneficiary target they're looking at for a particular period of time. But their vision is that whatever they are providing, whether it's a livelihood or an upskilling or a training, it should last for a particular, life cycle. So saying that, when we look at education, yeah, we go through our primary, secondary, degree, like that. So what is the impact of that education we have in our lives? Yeah, we get into the job, our entire mindset, the knowledge, intelligence, and requirement. So the levels of improvement in our knowledge before and after is one indicator. Like that, for each parameter of impact assessment outlined by the Organization for Economic Cooperation Development, OECD, there are a set of indicators which they have described, yeah, for measuring social. So this is the book which I was also writing about last few years, and it's available on site. It's called Social Impact Assessment Handbook. So these indicators will give you a direction to assess any social impact project. Okay, so when we say that I need to understand the change which has happened, how will we know what changes happened? Only then when we have a before and a after data. Okay, so when I know that I'm going to get into a particular community to teach them a particular skill, for example, mobile repairs. So what will be my data point? Before, how many new mobile repairs? After, now how many no mobile repair? And now how many are engaged in mobile repair and earning? So this is an indicator. So not like all projects will have a before data. Yeah. If a CSR has started by doing a need assessment, then that is your base data, saying that X number of people need upskilling, Y number of women need livelihood, Z number of men need, what do I say, training in agriculture, whatever. So this before and after questions are very crucial to understand whether the need was really required or. So we can't just go upfront to the field and ask them, oh, we gave you 10,000 to buy gold. So before, what were you doing? You were all impoverished, not having anything to do. How were you all surviving? We can't ask such sensitive questions. Rather, we should ask them, what were you all doing before for your life? What was the alternate work you all were doing before rearing goats to feed your family? So what was the issue for you all that made you all change your occupation from agriculture labor to goat rearing? So the before and after will give you a sort of a holistic perspective of the particular problem, the social problem which is happening in the community, for which the funds, either through CSR or social enterprise or philanthropists, are feeding in to see that it's a social change coming about in that particular job. And one more important thing is, okay, we keep on giving funds, we keep on giving inputs, but this social problem still continues. Is the problem still the problem? Even after 3 years, there's something wrong with it. So instead of finding a postmortem after 3 years, oh, I did a wrong livelihood option for this community, to engage in agriculture labor. Yeah, I should have thought about giving them an occupation which would have also added to their existing agriculture labor. Instead, I taught all these women tailoring. And so because of tailoring, everybody were skilled in tailoring and they didn't go to agriculture labor. There was still a problem because they could not source tailoring. See, so need assessment is very crucial. So the skilling of it. How many are interested to know learn tailoring? So you have to find out from the community. So stakeholder consultation is very important for you to identify what the problem is and what the solution. We can only prescribe or suggest a solution. Okay, or say this is the solution and we have to do. Okay, so the root cause we have to analyze for any social issue and understand, is this valid for this particular community or the population living in this job? For example, you go to Rajasthan. There are a lot of communities living in very impoverished conditions. So the only livelihood they have is through embroidery work, and they give it to a SAG, which again goes through a for-profit fair trade organization. We have the Urmul and all that, and then they get some income. Okay. Suppose you're going to give them training in agriculture. Will they practically be able to do it? No, because there's no water in that village. Near Bikaner and Jaisalmer. So you have to also find out from the base data or the program plan, what was the reason for this change proposed for this community? What was the intention when a particular input has been given to the community? So they've already envisioned what the impact. So any strategic planning of a CSR or any project, social project, will have the outcomes and impact outlined already. Not that it will be 100% the same fact that you see out particular time. Yeah, it could be 80%, 60% of what you emphasize. Balance will be the unintended outcomes, whether positive or negative. What do you mean by unintended outcomes? Oh, I never thought, but by training these women in traditional hand weaving, because they all are migrants from Kashmir and embroidery and all chikankari work or whatever, that they will earn more money than what they would have engaged in. And my unintended positive outcome is that children need have to migrate with the family. They can still stay in the same village, still attend the same school. So the education is coming. Unintended positive outcome and never in research. So these indicators are very detailed when you go for a study. This is your homework you have to do before you jump into the study of the project. So there are different verticals of social sector as education, livelihood, disability, yeah, agriculture, or environment like tree planting, agroforestry, and skill building, and youth empowerment, women empowerment. So many sectors. So it's not like you have a ready-made template to use for each of these sectors. So already, okay, you may use AI, but don't trust it. Is what it is. You have to have your own research, reading multiple social impact reports for you to validate the AI is recommending and indicators. Otherwise, if you're going to trust it, you will be definitely 50% be at fault. At, at the moment, AI is not complete on the social indicators point of view, what we look at the social level. So what are these OECD indicators? Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. You can Google up. It is very clearly mentioned for each vertical indicator set for that. But again, you have to tune it or you have to tweak it for your own project, which is appropriate for the study that you're going to take. So these are the basic frameworks. Yeah, the OECD framework talks about relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, social impact, and sustainability. This is the least framework. And coherence comes when you have a partner implementing. Suppose a CSR is giving to a partner is implementing. Then you have the coherence parameter to see whether the partner has the right fit of vision and the experience to carry out the program. So if the partner is not doing, you're directly doing for an organization, then you can stop with these parameters. The sustainability and social impact can be interchanged depending on what you want to report. So let's look at first the relevance part. So what does the relevance indicator say? The relevance is extent to how much the project which I am studying is suited to the priorities or the policies of the funder as well as the beneficiary. The funder may want to do an education in Orissa, but are the target beneficiaries looking out? You only want education when the health is of more concern? Yeah. So on what basis did the funder want to target this particular community in Orissa, focusing on education? Where is your baseline? What made you decide on this? So that is what an indicator will bring out. Secondly, the funder may have the CSR policy or the vision of the organization talking about only education. Then why did you switch to this particular geography where education was not required? Then you will know whether the project is relevant to the target or not. So the first parameter when we have the matrix, I'll show you, we'll talk about is the project relevant to the target population's current need. Okay. Second is the point in time that I'm doing the project for the particular community, right? Suppose I want to do an education program for a community where at this point in all the community is having health problems, like a lot of dengue cases coming up, like a lot of children dying early because of malnutrition. Yeah. Is the project really required to focus on primary education and girl child education and really the health of the child and the life of the child is more important for you to get the child to school? So that again talks about the relevance part of the program. Also, the stakeholders, that is the families, the children, or their parents, or the community leaders, or the local governance priorities, or the state government priorities. Are they focusing this year based on your Niti Aayog's agenda? Yeah, we all have our planning commission coming out with priority for the state for them. Are they also looking at education as a priority? Then you should have changed the job where there were no tuition centers, no practice schools, no what do I say, inadequate teachers for teaching, yeah, or adequate infrastructure for education. Yeah. So all these will give you a route to whether the project is relevant. So you should have cleared the space before you look into the effectiveness. So if relevant is very, very important for any project before you step on. So we all do this groundwork before we go to the study. So how do we see the relevance of the project before you go to the field? We have the project proposal. Yeah, we have the annual reports given by the client. So we see, okay, the annual report says X and Y data, and the proposal is for A and B. So the target population, how were they selected? Was there a baseline? What was the percentage of people requiring this particular activity? And then you say, okay, we will take up the study because there is relevance for the funding to have been spent for this particular vertical. Okay. Now, what if we find it is not relevant? You say, I'm not going to take the study. You will still take it. But you have to bring out, your observation, recommendation to say that the project is not relevant for these particular. So as a social impact assessor, we should be able to look at two perspectives, from the donor's point of view as well as from the beneficiary's point. The beneficiary are in that state where they will welcome any support given to them, depending on the right selection you have made. Yeah. But if the donor has an agenda to fulfill spending of the CSR budget for this particular agenda, then you have the responsibility to communicate to the fund that please try to rephrase your vision statement or relook at the area of your focus, so that you can report to the Corporate Affairs Ministry about your CSR spend, aligning with the need of the particular state as well as your coherence with the SDG and the Schedule 7 of the CSR. Moving on, now we've saw that the project is ready. Yes, they need education. There are no government schools. There are no adequate teachers in the government schools. The blackboard is gray color, even if you write, it's not visible. Yeah, so the money spent for upgrading the school infrastructure, having more teachers is really needed because there are so many children and it's overcrowded classrooms, so we need an extra classroom, things like that. So when we look at the effectiveness, the indicators will bring out whether the agenda or the objective of that funding spent has been achieved. So there were 200 children, all in one classroom with no separator and 2 teachers handling all these children. But now you have an extra classroom, and you have 4 teachers. And so it's well spaced, well ventilated, and there are more space for the children to sit comfortably and learn. Okay, so this is one effectiveness indicator. Where you look at infrastructure services provided, whether the activity that is giving more teachers, more tuition support has added the academic improvement of the children. And again, you have positive and negative outcomes which you may observe when you go to the field. So what will be the positive outcome? More children enrolling, because the school is all painted up and have nice blackboards and benches, and the children not having any scabies because of sitting on the mud flooring, and the parents want them to have very good infrastructure, or available, probably a toilet being constructed with proper water and sanitation facilities, which was preventing the girl children to go to schools. So all this could have been a positive effect of the funding given for school upgradation. What would be the negative? There are too many schools on. Why invest in the school? So there aren't any more children. Maximum the capacity of this village is having only 100 children, and we already have 4 schools. If we're going to have bigger classrooms and more classrooms, there are children going to go. So that could be wrong investment. That could be perceived as negative. So effectiveness has to be measured in terms of outputs. Outputs are numbers. The X number of children need these services. So how are these services going to improve the value of services provided for the target populations? And who are my targeting? For example, education children are my target. Their families are my target. I want them to encourage their children to school, to a cleaner environment. So what is my intention? To encourage, again, children going to the local school than moving far away or taking a transport and going to nearby villages, saving time, giving them more attention by having more teachers, giving them extra coaching. Yeah. So all of these will come under the effectiveness. Efficiency. Efficiency is more on how the resources have been utilized, whether it is financial support or you have human resources or the time that we are looking. So this mostly comes into the implementing agencies' efficiency. Cost benefit analysis could be done. Yeah, how much trainers and students could be looked at. How much of time has been spent for the entire program implementing work. Forget education, so like for a vocational skill training. Recently, I did a vocational skill training impact assessment. They were providing a training for women in tailoring in the village. If you all know Kanchipuram, know that the weaving district where handloom is mostly promoted and you have Kanchipuram silk sarees and all that. So in that district, they were training women on tailoring. It was very good. They were about, say, 50 per batch. But was it efficient? How will you know? How much time were they training? It was a surprising factor when I learned that they spent 3 years, 3 hours a day getting trained in tailoring. I said, how can you manage? And most of them, 60% are married. So 3 years, 3 hours a day, they have to see someone taking care of the children while they come to this center to learn tailoring. Is it an efficient training program that they have conceived? Question. Second, why 3 hours a day for 3 years? You should have made 6 hours a day, 1.5 years of 1 year. Yeah? And even more, they were teaching RE work and embroidery. And some women already knew tailoring. So what, is it efficient to train them for 1.5 years on tailoring when some knew already tailoring? So for those who knew tailoring already, what could they have done? Give them 6 months training in RE work and embroidery. For those who never knew tailoring, some for 1 year course, 6 months. Right? So this is how we look at the efficiency of a book. Not because you have to show money spent, time spent, X number of hours spent in tailoring, yeah, training, X Y number of trainers, so much of infrastructure, 50 tailoring machines, in that 30 hand CAD equipped computerized aided tailoring machines, advanced. It is just for the glamour of it. But we look at the actual efficiency of a program. Has the funds been utilized? Has the training time been efficient enough? It's just not because of teaching efficiently, but the participants, when they can efficiently come for the training without any dropouts. Because how many, 3 years, imagine someone's going to take care of a child which is less than 2-year-old. You mean to say you'll have such a cooperative sort of support all the time? So what is the attendance rate? And also, we're looking at operational efficiency. The center is used only for 3 hours a day. And there's only one batch. What they could have done, run 2 batches. 4 hours, 4 hours, extend or reduce the time. So these are ways you can look at the efficiency part of it. Okay, so this is for a tailoring asset. For example, let me talk about efficiency indicators for a type of project I can talk about is ultra poor women empowerment. What would be your efficiency indicator? Suppose they gave the women a seed money of 10,000 to buy goods. Okay, I'm going to talk in detail about this particular project. I'm going to tell you. So I'll tell you about this project, a little story of it. There is a district in Karnataka where an organization is funded by a large government to give seed fund for women belonging to scheduled tribe, scheduled class, who are majorly agricultural laborers, to invest that seed money in buying goods. So that when they don't have agricultural labor option, they can still have an income through go to. Okay. So each one got 10,000 to the self-help group, which they have to read. 2 years later, we go for an impact assessment. So relevance, yes. They were all SC, SC, OBCs. They were living in colonies secluded from the mainland. Okay. They were all agricultural laborers. Most of them were single women, widows, relevance. Are they all agricultural laborers? No other skill they have. Relevance. Effectiveness. Was the fund distributed on time? Was the entire SSG formation all streamlined? Did they know how to maintain the book of account? Did they provided training in SSG? Yes. The effectiveness is also. Now comes to efficiency. Is this project efficiently managed? How will I know whether it is efficient or not? How many women were given grants? Say, for example, hypothetically, 100 women were given 10,000 rupees grant. Okay, which is how much? 10,000 1 crore? That's 10,000 1 lakh, 10 lakh. Okay. They've given X amount for these 100 women to buy goods. Was it enough to buy goods? 10,000 two things they can buy. Small ones. Did all of them buy? Where did they buy from? They had a vendor whom they linked. They have the village sort of a shandy where they have every Tuesday sale of goods. So they went. There was a person. Was it cost effective? Yes, they didn't have to travel very far. It was in the local village. They could buy them. Did the women know how to rear the goods? Efficiency. Where they provided training in rearing goods? So, efficiency, you give resources, but are they able to handle it? The efficiency should say, yes, they were trained in goat rearing. They were linked to the local buyer to buy the goods. And they were so the local vet to go and give vaccination and for these goats. Yeah, and the women were rearing the goats when they were in their own homes and also doing the agriculture labor. Okay, so the best uses of resource, support, and time. Now, one surprising factor I noticed. 100 women got 2 kids, I said. So 200 goats are there in the community which never had goats before. And there were many elders, 60 plus, 70, just idle at. So they said, when I'm going for agricultural labor, will you take my goats for grazing? How much will you pay? I'll pay 50 rupees per goat per month. So a village elder earned not less than 2,500 to 3,000 rupees just by taking the goat to the field, bringing them back in. Unintended positive outcome. This elder also belonged to either SC, ST, or OBC. He was not earning any income. He never had the physical capacity to do agricultural labor. But the unintended positive income by giving the community, 100 women in the community, goats, enable these elders who were otherwise not having any income, earn 2,500, 3,000, enough to maintain their own person. Got it? So it was, wow, very efficient program. Very, very, what is a holistic sort of ultra poor empowerment. So when I gave feedback to the CSR person, we never envisaged that we could really uplift the entire community. We are focusing on only ultra poor women. Now see, this study has brought out another factor. So as social impact assessors, think out of the box. Don't restrict yourself to business and just do a tick mark and do a data analysis. You have got so many apps to do your data analysis and put charts and graphs and you have to bring that in assessor angle and bring your finding. Where will you get that finding? By looking at effectiveness, relevancy, and more on social impact. Okay. Next is the sustainability. Now, how long will these women be grazing goats? They had two. So what we found was two goats 2 years ago. Now they have six. They kept selling the goats. They started earning at least 30,000 to 40,000 rupees every year from the end of first year onwards. So the benefits will definitely continue to last, because as the goats get older, they sell and they have kids. Smaller goats being again taken care of by the elder, being grazed, and the economic, social, environment capacities of these beneficiaries are definitely being strengthened. So it is a sustainable sort of a activity which the project has attempted. Okay. Not only goods, there are some women who also started petty shops. Okay. So the petty shops, they had very minimal sort of investment being done. 10,000, how much they could invest? Some soap and groceries and all. But compared to the goat rearing, I didn't find the petty shop sustainable. You know why? Can someone answer in the chat? Why you feel that compared to the goat rearing, this petty shop was not that sustainable? Any clue why so? Can someone answer in the chat, please? Someone there? Should they? Or is it only a recorded session? Okay. The reason was they did not reinvest for the petty shop. They took all the earnings. 10,000 they invested. First month they got 3,000, they spent it. Second month they got 2,000, they spent it. There wasn't any money to reinvest. So they were not having that plan to say, okay, I will take only the profit and reinvest the money for more inputs for the shop. Okay, so that was a gap which we found. So sustainability for petty shops was less compared to sustainability for the goat rearing act. Now, this is also something we have to see. We cannot put everything on the same platform and say, okay, the entire project is sustainable. We have to say which of the project activity was sustainable, which was not sustainable. Only then, as an assessor, you can give your recommendation, saying that you have to train those who are having petty shops, how much of profit they should keep a margin, and how much margin they should keep for the profit they make, and how much they should save, how much they should look at reinvesting, so that this petty shop activity also goes sustainable. The last one is the social impact. Now, unlike the others, for social impact, we're looking at 3 levels: individual, household, and community level. When you look at individual level impact, what are we looking at? The individual is empowered, or the employability skill, either skill training or education, or suppose it's a advanced computer training you're providing for graduates, then your career progression, all that individual level impact. And of course, the behavioral impacts you see at the individual level for increase in confidence level, self-esteem, your decision-making ability, financial management. All these can look at your individual level impact and overall how you have progressed from what you were before. Household level impact, how will you see based on the pre and post income level, and also assets that we have created. So we ask, did you have a television before? Did you have your own bicycle before? They'll say, I used to hire a bicycle. Now I have my own bicycle, but I bought a two-wheeler now. And social economic status, my children are now going to school. They can afford to have books and school bags, so I can send them to a school property trust. So that's the household level impact. Community level, so we have alternate employment options, like the goat rearing, or the ladies who are going for agricultural labor. Now they have also goat rearing as an alternate employment. Youth, more youth coming into the sector because they find a lot of money being earned through agriculture or good rearing compared to having another occupation like small business activities. And equal opportunities, that's also community level impact where the SC, ST also have now an equal income compared to another person who's paid. So all this leads to local economy because people who earn money, they spend in the local area, were buying products sold by the local. So the local economy also. So this impact indicator, we look at individual level, household level, as well as community. This I told you, coherence indicators, we look at when we work with a partner and we want to see whether the partner's policy or the coherence of the stakeholder is in alignment with the funders, point of view. So looking at coherence, again, we look at the entire gamut of the program, yeah, whether the objectives and activities are in alignment with what the beneficiary needs are, whether the community's aspirations and the ground realities are also coherent, whether the acceptance factor, there are communities which says, I will rear cows, but I will not drink milk. There are communities in Uttarakhand where they consume ghee, but not. It is a fact. So what will they do with the milk? They only have to sell and then earn money. But they don't consume for their own family. So nutrition factor for the family is one indicator we cannot look at. But in other areas, we look at dairy and all that. We ask, do you consume milk? How much liters you take for your own use? All that. But here in this community, we can't ask. So coherence is also related to the acceptance and the ownership of the beneficiaries and the local stakeholders, how much it is coherent with the practices they have. And also, when you look at the partner and the funder, whether their mission alignment is coherent, whether their objective is in alignment, that they really want to target the people. They only want to focus on livelihood and power. They only want to focus on women. Yeah, so these two factors, the funder as well as the implementing partner, should be coherent to come together to implement the program. Now, how do we get data? Data are very, very important. We have indicators set. We have a toolbox to say what all indicators we're going to use for measuring the outcomes of the project. But where are we going to get the data for each of these indicators? So we are going to have it ready-made at the field offices we go, or the women will have a register of the SHG's savings, but they will not have data, right? To say that this is the change I have, we have to analyze it. Yeah. So when we collect data, it is our responsibility that we gather data which is relevant for each of these indicators for relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, sustainability, and social impact, so that this can be triangulated and then reported on each of these parameters. So for relevance, what would be the data? Suppose it's a youth empowerment, it's reaching them technically. So the data is, did I do a data assessment? Is it available? The baseline study? Did the community ask for this particular training? And what is the profile of these students who are attending the training? Are they from social, economic, poorer backgrounds? Yeah. And the funder, are they also having the mission of empowering the socio-economically poor youth to have upskilling or skilling for employability? Okay. So that's relevant. And also looking at when I conceived the course for a computer training course or a mobile repair course or any yoga therapy course, did I consult the community youth and find out that yes, they are interested? What happens if you just go and give it away? People will not be interested. I never asked for yoga therapy. I rather need to learn something on mobile repairs or billing, or data entry. I'm not interested in yoga. Yeah. So you should plan the course in consultation with the beneficiary. And the relevance for the partner of the team. Are they interested to do this particular activity? Or they say, oh, this is a big sort of chunk, I don't want to take it. I would rather focus upon health. Yeah. Where they can have number of vaccinations, given number of tablets, distributed, number of camps conducted, numbers are easy, rather than seeing the youth pick up the skill, get into a job, start earning. That's a long process of faculty. Also, relevance is, are you the only person doing the same job? Okay. So we see there are no duplications. There are no many organizations working the same agenda. And the beneficiaries, yes, they are interested. Suppose which you are wrong. So when you have this data for relevance, X number of students hailing from SC, Y number of students hailing from OBC, Z number of students hailing from ST, then you know how many are in each of these segments. And also how many community members told, yes, they discussed with us that this particular course can be introduced in the area only after discussing it. Yeah, and yes, there's a baseline. This talks about so many youth being dropping out after 10th because they could not clear their government exam. So there are many dropout children or youth who have failed the examination and they need and still start on their own. And when how will you find out data for only course? You can check up the local Tahsildar or the local Gram Panchayat or any other technical institute. The bank will tell you any other course, which is giving them because they are also getting into awareness and placement jobs. Next, data for effectiveness. So effectiveness is program is already started and we'll see whether the program is effective. Saying that, the youth prepared to get onto a job related to mobile science or data entry or medical transcription. Yeah? Because you're giving them the training in these workings, but are they prepared to get into this particular? Suppose so many training centers we do the assessment for, they attend the training, they get the certificate, 100% attending, but they don't want to get into that particular vertical. Then why do you attend the course? They gave us a stipend. They gave us food. I was idling. My parents told me to go. But then this is not my cup of tea. I went for an air conditioning training course. Then I learned that it's very risky to the 12th floor and I have to go through that sort of a ladder, hanging ladder. So it's a bit risky. So job preparedness was not there when they trained the youth on air conditioning. So why did they train the youth? Were they not informed of the safety parameters and insurances and other tricks of the trade that you need to have before you choose the training? Wasn't the orientation done properly? All these questions you should ask when you go and do the assessment of the courses. Next, effectiveness is about the quality of training. Now, who is training? Are they qualified? Do they have experience in teaching? For instance, there was a corporate funded livelihood advanced skilling program for youth, and they're teaching them front office assistant, sales, all that training, and spoken English was one. So when I visited the training center, spoken English module was happening. So I said, I want to observe the class. So I sat in the last floor and the trainer could not speak fluent English. And what subject was he handling? Spoken English. So what do you think these learners will gain from that particular training? So this is one parameter we are looking at. Effective delivery by the faculty. Are they qualified? Yes. He's a master's in literature, on record certificate. But what is the quality of delivery of this? Yeah. So that is also one thing. You can't go by the education qualification, but look at how the training is being done. Okay. Likewise, the on-the-job training. Many skilling programs have OJT, where they have to go for a practical besides your theory classes. So when we had one project where OJTs were on, we wanted to see the OJT records. And we saw a file where Xerox of the same letter, only the name of the organization was changed, was there file saying that the candidate is say going for OJT from this period to this period, which was handled with gaps. And so when we did a telesurvey, we found that more than 80% did not go for OJT. They just completed theory part. Why didn't they go for OJT? Because it was not in the neighborhood. They did not like the sector, like I mentioned. So You cannot just validate or information based on what you see physically on the record, physical records or MIs. You talk to stakeholders. Only then you will know. Did you attend the OJT? What was the issue with the OJT? See, I did air condition technician training, but they sent me to another office where I was not exposed to this particular training, but only about cleaning and refurbishing air conditioning. I was not taught sales and service. Yeah, so there is a mismatch of OJT sometimes, so which you can find out whether it is effective or not only by talking to the stakeholders who have attended it. Certification is right. There will be a lot of people having certificates, but what about the placement? How many were placed? If they say 20% only are placed, but 15% are entrepreneurs. They started their own repair shops. And that's a very good indicator. Overall, 35% are employed. What about the balance 65? 65 out of 65%, 30% are now looking out for a job. 20% are pursuing higher studies. So only 5% are unemployed. Got it? So you have to find this also as one of the parameters to measure the outcomes of the particular training. Okay. Next is placements taken within the geography and outside geography. How many people have chosen to move out of the state for employment? There was a project we did in Uri. Yeah, it was in 2015 after the landslide. They did a large corporate skilling program where the youth in Uri were trained in big housekeeping, hospitality. But the placement was very low. Why? The people in Uri, the placement was offered in Bangalore. They said, I would rather live in my hometown. I can't move all the way to Bangalore because I need to take 2 days to come back to my hometown in case of any emergency. And one more response we got was, we don't like the food in Bangalore. We use the food in our hometown or in our state. So when we have such an issue, we go back to the relevance. What will be the relevance here? Did I do an assessment or did I talk to the youth that I'm providing this training? Will you be open to be placed outside the state? How many are saying okay for that? If there are only 15% saying yes, I will take placement outside the state, do you have the capacity to provide the balance 85% placement within the state? You cannot force people to move, relocate outside the state. So relevance is also important for you to come out with this particular indicator analysis. Then you provide personality development, motivation, and all that. Then you come out by saying, how are the youth feeling now after? Are they empowered? Are they speaking up? Are they confident to work in teams? Yeah, all these, you find out whether the aspiration level of the students have gone up, how motivated they are to start up their own self-employment opportunities. Yeah, are they good enough to be put in the marketing, sort of a job? Are they able to speak fluent so that they can be also engaged in sales of a particular product type of activity? So we have to have periodic sort of alumni interactions, either one-to-one or as a group through FGG, to understand whether the program has been effective or not. Okay. It may seem cumbersome, but once you get into the stakeholder consultations, you go by the flow, you have your own homework of list of questions you're going to ask for, data you're going to gather, you'll have answers for all of these. Now comes efficiency. Effectiveness and efficiency are thin line. Efficiency, I told you, more on human efficiency, human resource, financial, cost per student, yeah, and all that. And the facilities. Is it efficient enough to hold that particular training? Is the facility equipped with infrastructure, like they're going to give them mobile repair? Do they have enough gadgets for them to work on practical exercises? Yeah, is there a track record of the individual candidates' progress over a period of time? The speed in which they're able to service an air conditioner, the knowledge he has on a particular product so that he can go into the sales about. And how is a trainer and trainee's efficiency in delivery? All that you need to find out. So here, there's always a plan B. So they say, okay, we don't have placement partners within the state, but we are going to give them an opportunity to link up with the MSME and the government program so that they can get a small finance loan to start up their own enterprise. So if not for placement, then you start your own sort of a trade. So this is detailing about what activity you are really engaged in. Sustainability, yes. How are we going to sustain it? Is the project going to have its own community taking ownership and managing the project after you exit after 3 years? Or they're going to keep depending on you for more grants coming in? For example, this Ultra 4 program, there were 2 grants given. First grant and second grant. First grant to start an enterprise. Second grant was given to those who wanted to scale up the enterprise and started the first phase. Okay, so the first phase, whoever was successful, in that a particular percentage was chosen for the second grant so that they could scale up the activity, whether it was goat rearing or poultry or cattle or a petty shop. Those were successful in the first phase, they were given an added grant. So this is based on sustainability. So you should be able to be time specific, area specific. Yeah. So say that, yes, after 3 years, I'm going to move out. I'm going to go to a different geography and do the same. And I'm going to ensure the community takes over the program and their responsibility to run the self-help group and see savings are all credited in bank. The loan is being given to the women who need it. Repayment is ensured so that there is a continued cycle of funding being happening. For example, if there's a youth training program, the alumni, they're continuing in the job we have placed. They don't leave after 3 months. So at least 1 year they remain in the job. So they're sustaining the same sector which they studied in the job that they chose, and they're remaining at least for 1 year in that particular job. That is also one factor to look at sustainability. Social impact. When you look at social impact, you can look at the larger agenda, like my employability skills are up. I have a very positive mindset. I'm entrepreneurial now. Yeah, I can manage my finances better. A household status has gone up. The income has gone up. I have started buying assets. My children are going to better school. We have better living conditions at home. We have improved social status. All these are data you have to gather when you do your stakeholder consultation for social impact. Okay. Any questions so far? Should I wait in the chat? Nobody's answering. So I told you when you talk of impact, you also look at impact of community, right? So how is the local community empowered? Is the local community also having more opportunities for employment being generated? For example, there was a mobile repair shop started by one of the youth, yeah, after being trained by one of the organizations in Mysore on mobile repair. He started a shop. Now he's rented another shop and employed one of his juniors in the same training institute to take care of the sales while he does the repairs. See, so he is given an employment opportunity for another person, same village, within a 1 year period of time. That's the impact he has on the community. Okay, and the employment factor is also growing by more people are getting into this particular sector where there are more need of mobile technicians, mobile services, mobile sales. Yeah, we have mobile cell covers being sold. All these are happening, and this particular area more and more time interested to get into. So overall, what happens? The local economy goes up. So you spend more money, you earn more money within the geography where you belong to. So data is not easy, as I told you. You have to interact with the stakeholders. You have to have your data collection tools in such a way that in depth, and you have all your data parameters outlined and the validity of data. I can't go back to data which was available 4 years ago. It should be current and analyzed both qualitatively as well as quantitatively. Only then you will be able to come out with detailed narrative for your social impact assessment. Saying this, I want to show you all certain indicators or frameworks which I have used for education and life. Should they or should we
Yes,
pause
ma'am.
for 5 minutes for questions?
Ma'am, actually, for the questions, the chat window is not enabled.
Okay.
So we have requested the participants, we'll request the participants in case they have any direct questions, they can send it to us on our email and we'll forward it to you, ma'am.
Okay, done.
The details. So our email ID is isai@icai.in.
You want to
I
put
would
that up
repeat.
here?
I would repeat it once again. Ma'am, we have already sent our email ID to the participants
Repeat it,
in the
please.
email.
ISAI.
ISAI @icai.in. So I would request all the participants, in case they have any question, please send us it through email and we'll forward it to ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, with your permission, will that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So I put this ID here for questions
Thank
to
you
be
so much,
sent.
ma'am.
Yes. Should I pause for a break or continue? Shikha?
Ma'am, it's fine if you want to take a break, ma'am.
No, that's fine. Let's finish. Okay. So let me show you an indicator. This is an indicator I use for education project. Okay. This particular program is on a virtual learning program for government school children. So they used to have volunteers handle online classes for government school students in rural villages. They used to also appoint one class assistant who will coordinate this online session. So there's a smart TV, a modem, speakers, a laptop being given for these government schools, and a class assistant. So volunteers pan India, knowing the local language, will be scheduled to handle weekly, twice or thrice or once, online classes for these government school students on particular subject related topics. So this assessment we did recently, October. So these were the indicators that we worked on. Okay. So relevance, we saw whether digital literacy and SDG goals alignment were there for the program. Yes, do have, right? We talked of digital India. And it is part of our SDG 4. So what evidence we need to say it is relevant? The strategy document, the SDG report, all that to say, yes, this is what was the basis for the project to start. Another relevance factor was to see whether the children in that particular geography had access to quality education. Did they have any sort of inadequate teachers teaching them? The education infrastructure or the education pedagogy was appropriate and of quality. Then they found that there were many schools which lacked teachers. There were only temporary teachers, or the headmaster was handling classes because that leave vacancy was not fulfilled. So the reason for virtual classroom was to fill the gap. And yes, it was relevant because these children otherwise will not have a teacher who's educated, even though she's living in another part of the city, in another part of the state, teaching them, in a simple way, mathematics or science. The local teacher would have used only the textbook and Other students feedback also positive, saying that yes, they like the online classes. Yeah. So this is one way we could look at the relevance of the particular online program for the community. Like this, I have written a lot of indicators for relevance, for effectiveness. I'm going to share all this with you all, or you can take a screenshot. Efficiency, coherence, sustainability. Okay, so now let's look at the other parameters. For effectiveness, the school also has regular classes. Okay, and then we also have the online classes. How is the classes scheduled? Yes, there is a timetable where the online classes is scheduled as per the school availability. Class assistant is there. Yeah, the platform works well. There is internet facilities. Usage logs are there. The volunteers are available. All that shows that the online sessions are seamlessly taking place. Also, we're talking about the volunteers. One thing we learned about was the volunteers said that I'm meaningfully using my time. I'm a retired teacher. I had all the skills to teach, but I was retired. So I was just not doing anything at home. Now I'm finding my learning and my experience being effectively being class. So this is an added advantage for being part of my this program where I can utilize my skills and time extra. Next is when you look at efficiency. Efficiency is for the government schools, as you know, we need permissions from the district education officer, school principal must agree. There should be a formal MOU between the implementing partner and the local district education officer or the block education officer. So all these you have to find out whether it is there. Yeah, real time, the data files are available for students. And when we talk about preloaded content, there are schools which also had preloaded content and just the class assistant has to play that video on the digital learning class. Is the preloaded content efficient enough for the students to understand? We found that one school, there were preloaded content in Hindi, but the school was, all the students never knew Hindi. Yeah. So how will they comprehend? They said the class assistant will translate. I said, you rather you put a voiceover for the same digital content, in the local language rather than having it in Hindi and a class teacher explaining it in Tamil. Yeah. So that all that we could look at these real-time monitoring of students, their understanding levels, yeah, and how they're able to access the video content for effective learning. Coherence talks about government education policies, how we are synergizing with other NGO programs. There are many NGOs who work with government schools. Some NGOs work on your infrastructure, some send teachers, some send volunteers to have talent sort of competitions being conducted. So we should see whether there's a blend of what the entire school population requires. And coherence is also whether the volunteers the scheduling is done appropriately. There were many volunteers who said that we come online, but then they could not connect because of poor internet. When we asked why you did that, no, the government has told us to change the internet service provider. So we're using only a mobile hotspot to have the online classes, and sometimes we run out of it. See, that means what are you talking about here? You're talking of digital classes and you don't have internet facility in the school. So all that will look at how you're able to see whether your effectiveness and the efficiency for the entire program is good. Sustainability is how long will the volunteers continue? So probably you should give them a window, say 1 year you have to commit to conduct some number of sessions. Yeah, this is the topic you're going to handle, and train those who are not experienced teachers on how to conduct the online classes. So that is also required when you have volunteers coming without any skill to do teaching or any activity related to the program. So live and recorded sessions is welcome, but then are these really feasible and available for the students even beyond the digital classes? So there is a computer lab where one of the school headmaster said, we allow the students to come and access the computer lab during the free hours so that they could listen to the recorded session. So it was an added impact or an added indicator which we could analyze. So this is overall the indicators for the education program which we had evolved, and for the virtual learning program based on this we wrote the narrative. Now let me show you one more example about, say, ultra poor program which I spoke about. Okay. This is ultra poor program or the livelihood program, the goat rearing. Remember I told you. So in that, the first relevance indicator was, is it aligning with the national state poverty alleviation priority? Because we're all looking at aspiration districts now. Yeah, the BPL families. So yes, it was aligned. So what we do is we rate each of these indicators and come out with an average score for each of the parameters. So we can give them an overall scorecard of how much they scored out of 10. It is on a scale of 1 to 10, how much they've scored. For example, for the ultra poverty, I would say they scored 10. Yeah. So ultra poor women were from SHGs and marginalized group. Yes. Then part beneficiary was based on landless, single women and low asset. I will say 9, because some were not single women. They also had spouses, and some also had basic infrastructure in them. Participatory consultation, yes, but some were new to goat rearing, and so they did not know how to manage it. So many of the goats died. So I'll give a low rating. Complementing the CSR and government school schemes, ensuring no duplication. I will say 8 again, because there are many SHGs, many in the village where they have invested that for small activities like sari sales and banking business. Graduation approach, I told you, first phase, second phase, first grant and second grant. Whether it has contextualized local realities, I will say 7, because not many graduated from phase 1 to phase 2. So what will be my average here? I will say my relevance score is 8.6 out of, or rather 8.7 out of 10. So like this, for each of my indicator, I will do a score. Okay. And then overall, I will say my relevance 8.7, effectiveness one number. So for each of these, I will give it overall score. People today, they will want numbers. They will want to see where they stand. So we will say, why everyone is scoring? The 8 is excellent, and you're giving everyone excellent. Yes, because probably my thought process is that, yes, these are all good numbers to look at. But 7 is something low. So I will ask my client who has asked me to focus more on this particular indicator, which is scored considerably lesser than the others. Okay. Now, effectiveness. When effectiveness, again, we're looking at women-led household, then multiple income per family, then rise in household income, financial decision-making among women, participation SSG programs, increase in confidence and behavioral and utilization of livelihood assets for productive purposes, savings behavior, yeah, increased adoption of climate resilient agriculture, livestock, and all that, effective mentoring resulting in stable income, yeah, all that I will give a rating. So I may give a random rating and I'll give an average. Say my average for effectiveness is about 8. Okay. But I have to give individual rating and validate. Then only I will know which is low and which to recommend about. Then comes my efficiency. Has my full project fund being utilized within the planned limit? Then has my disbursement happening on time? Do I have mentor to household ratios for follow-up being streamlined? Like trainer to trainee ratio, mentor to household ratio, all that. Then cost per household. Yeah. Then meetings of the SHGs, whether it was regularly conducted. Resource optimization, as I told you, middle class man being identified for purchasing goods. Then detailed process documentation, is it there so that it can be duplicated in other places. So I may say, yes, it is very efficient, and I'll give them an 8.4. Yeah, with my individual numbers over here. Coherence is because I've done it through another partner. I will see whether they also have an alignment with all these frameworks, whether they're logically going through identification to livelihood sort of a SOP. And then there are clear roles of what the partner will do, what the community will do, and there's no duplication or overlap. And they're contributing to SDGs. So this coherence factor was very good. So I actually gave them a 10. Okay. The sustainability. Are these sustained? What did I tell you? The petty shops was not sustainable. The goat rearing was sustainable. So it was out of 100, 20 shops and 80 goats. So only 80, in that 80 goats, 10 did not know goat rearing. Only 70 goats rearing families were successful. So sustained livelihood, I'll give only 7. Now you know how I got the number 7? Because out of 100, only 70 were successful. Then SHGs were regularly saving, internal lending was happening and all that. Yes, I'll give a number for all that. Community were there to mentor. They were continuing accessing microcredit, and it is fit for replication and all that. Yes. So overall, how much can I give for sustainability? Probably I will give 7.8. Okay. Because these are all SC, ST, OBC, you cannot immediately say, yes, they can sustain forever. You have to also see that they need to be strengthened further for another period of 2 years so that they can full and full become sustainable. The last is the social impact indicator for life, where we're talking of reduction in ultra poverty. This is the impact indicator, which is very important. So I have tried to bring down the ultra poverty among households, and I have achieved food security and improved children's education and better housing. Women's dignity has gone up. Participation of women in local governance is there. Intergenerational benefit like improved education and confidence is coming up. Economic activity through micro enterprises is up. Strengthen social capital. Yeah, and harmful coping strategies. In case of a highway flood, they can still have the savings to help rebuild their homes. Improve nutrition because of more money, they can have better food. All that. It's an increased asset and greater visibility. So social impact, I would say, yes, to save it, the social impact is definitely more, I will say 8.2. So now when you look at what is my score, see, for relevance, I gave 8.7, for effectiveness, 8, efficiency, okay. So what is my overall score for this particular project? Which is, of course, a very good. This is my overall score. So when I write a social impact report, based on these indicators, I give my score as 8.5. So anything above 8 is excellent. Okay. Below 6 is, I would say, fair. And below 5 is 6 to 8 is good. And above 8 is excellent. So this is how we have our scoring. So this, when you write your indicators, your narrative becomes very easy. Because when you write a social impact report, and when you write on the section on reporting on your program evaluation of project impact, you have to just give one para on each of these. and your report is complete. This forms 60% of your report. So you have to just elaborate each of these indicators in the evaluation of project. And then you have the ratings and your observations and recommendations, alignment with SDGs, and there you are. You have every evidence to showcase, yes, I have done a thorough social impact assessment study of this project, and this is the scorecard. Okay, so indicators are very, very important. It will take a lot of time for you to get into the writing of indicators. But as you get into each sector, you have to start maintaining a content bank. So for livelihood indicators, for a project working on women livelihood, this is my set of indicators. So you can't use this tailor-made indicator for another project in Uri or in Kerala. That again has to be reworked. This can be at the back of your mind. But based on the project, the beneficiary population, the input given, you have to work on each of these indicators. Okay? And with that, you write your narrative. So thank you so much. I'll wait for questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking this session and sparing your time for taking this session. We are truly indebted. Thank you so much, and thank you very much to the participants for joining this webinar. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.